Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going to my cheat sheet for today's MLB main slate for today on DraftKings, or I guess tomorrow, just depends whenever you're watching this. If you're early, it's tomorrow. But anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And I'm not going to take you to my Patreon page, but if you are new to the channel, I have a Patreon set up. We got 75 members, something like that. Hit the link in the description below. You can get access to my Slack chat, my pitching model with projections, hitting model with projections, my updates throughout the day. You can ask me all the questions you want on Slack chat. It's a pretty fun community in there. We're not, it's nothing scary. You just sit back and it's a pretty chill chat. Ask me all the questions you want. Enjoy the games. If your player does bad, you can vent about it in there. If you're doing good, we have fun in there. So I really enjoy the Slack chat. I'm in it all day. So yeah, anyway, I will show you a preview of the pitching model as well, as I like to do a little preview just so you know what you would get. So first off, I want to talk about this pitching slate. So when I was first making my cheat sheet, I worked from pitcher down. I was thinking, okay, we got to play Chris Paddock tomorrow. He's the clear number one option versus Baltimore. And then when I was making my sheet, I was looking at early Vegas lines and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to play Chris Paddock tomorrow because there's a lot of good bats. We're talking about a Coors Field slate with the Dodgers, the Angels versus Jordan Zimmerman and that Detroit bullpen. So I want the bats, because if we use Chris Paddock, it's going to come at the expense of like a guy like Trout or Ohtani. And honestly, I think Trout or Ohtani can score just about as many points as Chris Paddock's going to score tomorrow, and I don't want to miss out on that. Because Chris Paddock has had games where he scored single digits, but he's also had games when he's scoring 30. So we just take a median of that. Maybe he scores like 15 to 20. I'm just fine fading that. And even if he does score 30, I won't feel too bad, because I think we can get just enough value out of Kelly and Barria, and then I want guys like Trout, Ohtani, Bellinger, Peterson, those guys. I don't want to miss out on them. I think they're just in too good of spots tomorrow to miss out on, and this is a bad slate in my opinion. So let's just take a quick look at the pitching sheet. So it's pretty much an all-in-one database. It's got all the splits you need on here. It's really just there to help you make your own lineups and not have to have 30 tabs open, have a Vegas tab open, have a Rotogrinder splits page open, Fangraphs open, all of that at the same time. So really, it's just all in one. It's color coded on there. It's to help you make your own lineups. I don't get every single play right. No one does, but this is here to help you make your own choices in lineups, because that's really what it's there for. And if you guys like the cheat sheet, this is exactly what I use to make my cheat sheet every single day. It's just a more analytical way of looking at it, because I try to keep the numbers out of it on the cheat sheet, because I know probably half of you don't really care about the numbers. You just want to see who I like, which I totally understand, and I don't blame you for that. I get it, but if you want a more in-depth point of view on the cheat sheet, pretty much, or the slate, this is what it's there for. So let's look into some of the pitchers. We got Merrill Kelly, 8,200. He's actually coming in as my best value pitcher. Now, is he very good? No, he's not very good. He's got a 19% K rate. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. He's got a 4.62 xFIP, which isn't very good. It gives up a lot of hard contact. So why do I like this guy? Well, it's a really soft matchup versus Miami. We get into some of their splits versus right-handed pitching. Let me turn my phone down. So if we look at some of their splits versus right-handed pitching, it's not very good. As you're going to see, it's pretty much green bars all across. 26% K rate, 121 team ISO, which is the lowest on the slate by over 20 points. Lowest team WOBA by just a hair. And lowest WRC plus actually outside of Detroit. So it's a good matchup, and I think he can get the job done. I think he can get us 15 points, 15, 20 points maybe if we're lucky, and I think that's just fine for value, because he's going to allow us to spend up on some bigger bats if we use him as our SP1. And then Chris Paddock, just the thing is, the matchup is not as good as you might think it is. It's actually, we tend to like to use lefties versus Baltimore better. Because as you can see, their splits versus lefties and righties are actually a lot better versus righties, just as an offense. They're better versus right-handed pitching, as you can see. So I'm actually just fine with fading Paddock. I think he's going to carry some ownership, but I don't mind fading that and just spending up. And then for our SP2, I'm looking at Jaime Barria. He's 7,200, and really this is just a matchup play and a Vegas play. He's a massive negative 240 favorite, and he's going against Detroit, who struggles versus righties. I do have one concern, though. If we look at Barria's splits, he's a big reverse splits guy. So if we look at his splits versus righties, that's not good. As you can see, that's heavy red. That's worse on the entire slate. 239 239 ISO given up to righties, 12% K rate. So that's not good. But this is a Detroit team who's very bad versus righties, so that's what we like here. As you can see, highest strikeout rate on the slate, one of the lowest team WOBAs and the lowest team WRC plus, and he's a very heavy favorite going into this game, negative 240. I think he can get us a cheap win as long as he doesn't get blown up, which I don't think he will. And again, this is basically just to get us bats, because if we use Kelly and Baria, what is that, like 15K salary, so we can pretty much do whatever we want with our lineups. Not everything we want to do, but pretty much. So that's my thoughts on pitching. If you feel like you need to spend it for Paddock, I understand, but it's just my opinion. What I'm going to do tomorrow, I want the bats. Unless a really, really good value option opens up at, like, say, shortstop or something, and we can punt, and then maybe we can get up to Paddock and still afford big bats. That would be an option too. But as of right now, I don't know the lineups. I don't know who's going to maybe be a surprise start and make the lineup. So I'm just going with what I can see as of right now. I will provide updates throughout the day on my for my Patreon members first. So that's my thoughts on pitching. I mean, if you agree, that's cool. If you don't, I mean, that's fine too. But just my thoughts on that. So at catcher, we have Will Smith at 4,500. It's a small sample, but he is crushing righties so far this season with a 625 ISO and a WOBA over 500 and a massive WRC plus. The Dodgers smashed last time out in Coors, and I can really see the same happening again. And then we have Austin Hedges at 3,200. It looks like Yacobonis will start for the O's, and then whoever else they bring in is awful as well. So I don't mind these Padres as a sneakier stack, because I don't think anyone's going to play the Padres with the Dodgers, the Rockies, the Reds, and the Angels all being in good spots. And then Tucker Barnhart, 2,900. Lyles got absolutely slaughtered last time out versus, I believe it's the Cardinals, right? Yeah. And the way he struggles with lefties, I'm really interested in these lefty bats from the Reds as values in Great American Ballpark. And we got quite a few good values from the Reds here, so they will provide us some salary relief. Then at first base, we got Max Muncy at 5,600. So all the Dodgers are elite plays in Coors, especially the lefties here. John Gray has generally in his career struggled more versus lefties. I mean, this season he's actually given up a tiny bit more power to righties, but I'm going to prefer the lefties here, and that's really pretty much all the Dodgers are outside of Justin Turner and I guess Will Smith. And there's probably someone else I'm forgetting, but they're priced to the moon, but it's for a good reason. I mean, it's a great matchup, and what they did from last time out in Coors, I understand why they're priced this high. But I do like them in all formats if you can afford them. It's just the thing, it's going to be hard to do a full Dodger stack. And then Jock Peterson, 5,300. I could see him being probably the highest owned player in the slate. People love playing Jock Peterson versus righties, which, I mean, I do too. I'm not saying I don't. And we're in Coors, and he's leading off, so there's nothing I can say that I don't like him. If you can afford him, I'm just fine playing him. There's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. And then Joey Votto at 4K, like these Reds lefties as value versus Lyles. And then we got at second base, Max Muncy, we already talked about. Scooter Gennett, 3,400. He's a guy been playing a decent amount. It seems like whenever Kipnis is facing a lefty, Gennett's facing a righty, so I just kind of switched between Kipnis and Gennett the past month, which we need value at second base usually, so that's what I've been doing. And then we got Whit Merrifield, 4,900, great versus left-handed pitching, facing off versus the lefty Pannone, not sure, but it's a bad bullpen for the Blue Jays as well, so I do like Whit Merrifield quite a bit. Then at third base, we got Josh Van Meter, Josh Van Goat, either one of those works. I've been playing him a lot. He's the next cheap guy I'm going to keep riding until DraftKings decides to price him correctly. So, we were riding the Danny Jansen train, the Stevie Wilkerson train, Max Kepler before he got expensive, but I'm still playing Max Kepler every night. But, Van Meter, I think he's our next guy to just hop on until he gets too expensive. He's been hitting the ball really well, double-digit points in, I think, the past 5 games. And every time I put him on the sheet, he has done well. I think he scored over double digits each time. So, going to be riding this Josh Van Meter train. He allows us to get some salary relief at a position I'm not in love with today. I know, what's his name? Justin Turner's in a decent spot, but I think I'm going to spend down for Josh Van Meter here. And then we have Anthony Rendon, 4,900. I don't love this matchup, and I'm more than likely playing Van Goat, but he's just so good versus lefties with 321 ISO. Just the ground ball rate of Keuchel is what worries me. And then Manny Machado at 4,600. Prefer him versus lefties, because you guys know it's the massive numbers versus lefties. They're absolutely insane. But the O's pitching staff in general is a joke, plus it's his old team, so you never know if you're into narratives. But I will say it's a downgrade being in San Diego instead of Baltimore. Then at shortstop, we got Corey Seager at 4,700. Not a position I'm too in love with, but this is a somewhat cheap Dodgers exposure, and he's a lefty. Then Freddie Galvis at 3,500. Keller is a low strikeout guy versus lefties, and Galvis is a much better hitter versus righties. I always shouldn't say much better, but he is better versus righties, better splits overall, and the Royals bullpen is bad as well. And then Andrelton Simmons, 3,700. As long as he's in the lineup, I know he got the day off. So, but if he is in, just cheap exposure to the Angels, which we're about to talk about very soon here, as of right now, actually. Then in the high-end outfield, so Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, two of my favorite plays tomorrow, possibly my two favorite plays. Trout's actually my favorite play on the entire slate. I am willing to play him over Cody Bellinger, which, maybe, I hope he's lower owned than Bellinger, because that'd be awesome, because I love Trout, but I'm actually prioritizing these two over Coors bats on this slate, which might sound a little crazy to you, and I hope it is a little contrarian, because I would love to get these guys a lower ownership. Zimmerman is a punching bag for batters, and so is this Detroit bullpen, and Trout this is the perfect matchup for Trout. He absolutely murders righties. He's got a 393 ISO versus right-handed pitching. Zimmerman does not strike out a lot of guys. He throws a lot of fastballs down the middle, and I don't see how Trout doesn't take him deep in this game. And same for Shohei Ohtani. He's actually Zimmerman's worst versus lefties, and Ohtani just crushes righties, and this team mashes. They don't strike out a lot. It's a really good offense, in my opinion. So, it's just not my opinion. It's just true. At least the top half of it. At least the outfielders are. The infielders aren't, the best, but the outfield's very nice. So, yeah. Then we got the two Rockies guys in Bellinger and Peterson. I already talked about Peterson, but I just like the idea of stacking up the Dodgers here. I know that's not like a hot take or anything whatsoever. They crushed in Coors, though, last time, and I could see it happen again. Love the lefties versus Gray. Cody Bellinger, in my opinion, is right behind Trout and Ohtani. Then I would have him third as my ranking for the outfield. And then Blackmon and Dahl, 5K. I do think this is going to be the more contrarian option of this trio of outfielders here, just because they're going to face off versus Maeda, who is a decent pitcher. But if we're going to attack Maeda, I want to do it with the lefties, because if you look at his splits, Maeda's got a 30% K rate to righties and just decent overall ISO given up, which, it's very low. So I do like the lefties here if I'm going to target them. Someone they're not players I'm going to use in cash, like prioritizing cash, but I do think they're decent GPP options. I just think it's the harder matchup of the three between the Angels and the Dodgers. Then in the mid-range outfield, we got Cole Calhoun, 4,600. This is just cheaper Angels exposure, and I don't hate the idea of using three Angel outfielders in my lineups tomorrow, which I did pretty much 3 days in a row in cash games last week, and it seemed to work out every single time. So I don't hate that idea again, although I will say I'll probably go down to Upton, which I'll get to soon. Then Alex Verdugo, 4,500, cheaper Dodgers lefty exposure, and I could see him being one of the more popular plays on the slate at this price if he is batting second, which, it makes a lot of sense to me. It's just cheap exposure to the Dodgers. Then Jesse Winker at 4,100. I imagine he's going to be leading off, and it's a great spot versus Lyles in Great American Ballpark. Then in the value outfield, we got Josh Van Meter. We already talked about Justin Upton, 4K. I really like Justin Upton. I think I have him as a core play tomorrow. Just one of the top values on the slate, in my opinion. He's crushing righties this season, and this is the perfect matchup versus Zimmerman and that bad Detroit bullpen, so he makes a lot of sense to me. And then Franmil Reyes at 4K. He's crushing righties this season with an ISO above 300 compared to around 100 to lefties. So he makes some sense if you want to low own GPP. I actually don't hate the idea of using the Padres in GPPs if you want to get different. And then let's go to the top stacks and core plays. I have Merrill Kelly at 8,200. He's a core play for me. Even if I am paying up for Paddock, I'm probably going to get Kelly as my SP2. But I actually don't hate the idea of using him as our SP1 and then Barry as our SP2. Then at third base, I got Van Goat, 3,700. Trout at 5,700. I really want to play Trout tomorrow. He's my top play. And then Justin Upton at 4K. I think he's too cheap. And the top stacks for me are going to be the Angels, the Dodgers, the Reds lefties, the Rockies, and then the Padres if you want to get a little sneaky. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for the video. Hope it was a help to you. And I wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow. Like I said, hit the link in the description below for Patreon if you are interested. And follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and I'll see you guys in the next video.